My amplified unit, top of the morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world. Salute. Let's get ready to crush it. Rusev crush. And the only way we can do that is if we go all systems go, which means red team go. Wake up, get amplified. Now, BC has a little bit of time on this early Thursday morning, so I thought let's talk some AEW, right? It's not going to be a full-fledged review. I had some important calls that I had to take of a much higher business status and stature, but I caught most of the show, and I'm going to talk about it because I got some time, man. Some things got moved around today, and I have some time on this early Thursday morning, and I want to talk AEW. Damn it. It's my show. I think I will do such. And I call this open mic night because, wow, man, some people were just dropping straight fire, whether it was a Britt Baker, a Saraya, it could be Mox, MJF, who wasn't even in the arena, but just dropping a fucking massive promo. Fucking Jeff Jarrett. Jeff Jarrett's throwing fucking dingers over to WWE. He's singing fucking Triple H and Braun Strowman in his promo. Just a lot of fire promos last night. And I thought this was, and this is gonna shock a lot of people. I'm about to say something positive about a wrestling show. Go figure. And it might shock you because it's on a night where the general consensus in the wrestling community is that last night's Dynamite was not that good. I mean, if you gauge the wrestling world, and a lot of AEW fans were saying, yeah, this show just didn't land for X, Y, and Z reasons. And I totally understand. Eye of the beholder. I actually thought this was a decent show that just lacked three main components. I felt if you added three components to this show, this would have actually been a good show a couple of weeks away from, or 1 week away from Full Gear. But I give it at least a decent status. So it's, it's funny to see that so many people just did not like the show as a whole. But we will discuss it, and I'm going to tell you guys what those three components are that could have made this a good show. I think for most viewers, especially the AEW diehards, but even casuals alike, for sure, they would have put the remote down. And I'm going to give you guys some amplified booking. You guys have been asking about this for a while. If you're new to the channel, what we used to do is amplified booking for pay-per-views. But what happened was my creativity was so damn, so solid. Best way to put it without hyping up myself, marking out for myself. But the creativity was so good that when the pay-per-views were over, you guys were even coming back going, BC, you got our hopes up, man, so high. The pay-per-views, it was a really bad stretch for WWE. I mean, I know it's been in a bad stretch for 10 years now, but when I was doing amplified booking, it was getting worse and worse, and the pay-per-views were so bad with no care. There was no direction. There was no rhyme or reason. Nothing was making sense. I guess that's WWE today still, but so we'd be coming back and you guys would just be like, BC, man, what the fuck? I mean, you gave us your creative. We were hoping for just half of that. We got none of it. We got negative that. So I eventually had to stop doing amplified booking because it was just too creative. There's no way WWE could keep up. So I'm going to bring it back a little bit here because everybody says, well, BC, you say like maybe this shouldn't have been on the show. This should be on the show. You would have done this different. But can you offer examples? Like, what do you truly mean? How could you make it better, BC? Well, I'm glad you asked. If you watch the channel, I always give you guys examples, but I'll book a main component that Tony Khan should implement for next week's Dynamite, heading into a Full Gear. I'll tell you exactly how I would book that shit. I'll give you one storyline that would make casual fans even put the remote down from the first second they tune into TBS next Wednesday night. So we'll go over the three components that they were missing this Wednesday. I will give you some amplified booking on what they should do on next week's show. That'll guarantee you over 1 million viewers. We'll talk all of that coming up, guys. It won't be that long either. I'll try to get you in and out. For those of you that are Gonna watch this whole thing. Salute or listen. Put your earbuds in. Go about your lawn work or your errands, your shopping, your exercising, and you're just gonna listen to BC. Salute. You guys are the best. And for those of you that just don't do AEW, you don't watch it, you just stopped in to say what's up to BC and smash that up, I appreciate you guys big time. And let me give you a salute before you head out. And even if you don't watch AEW, you still should listen to BC, man. There's going to be a lot of good, very good advice and a lot of very good information, man. Every time you tune into BC, you're going to walk out a smarter wrestling fan, or at least that's the hopes. So salute to every one of you guys before I get into AEW Dynamite from last night. Again, this is a show that if you gauge the audience around the world after the show, a lot of people were saying it just was not their best foot forward, and it just didn't land for them. Again, BC understands. I'm not going to call it a good show because it did lack three main components, but it was a decent show, I felt. I did some business calls. I had to do other things that are just of a higher priority business-wise, but I caught most of the show, and that's what I'm going to discuss. So again, not full, because there are some things that I did miss, just very few, maybe some backstage segments, for instance. But before, because I have no notes, zero notes, guys. This is going from the top of my dome piece, so I understand I'm going to miss some things that I probably even watched. That's what I mean about it's not a full-fledged review. I don't have any notes in front of me. This is over a cup of coffee, and I just got some extra time to shoot the shit with my unit. So we're just talking Dynamite, guys. As if we're just two fucking dudes drinking a coffee or a fucking cold beverage at a local fucking bar in Manhattan. We're just shooting the shit. So, after, basically, you forgot this segment. No, what are you going to do? It happens. But before I forget, because I might forget this segment, Sky Blue. Man, have I been living under a rock at some instances or what? Because I gave a second look over to Sky Blue. She's got some talent and beautiful too. And she's like 24, 23, 24. So she has the world in front of her career-wise. I mean, decades more if she chooses to. I mean, I think MJF is like, 25, 26 years old, I believe. Sky Blue's 23 or 24. I mean, just, man, you see these kids and you're like, they got the world in front of them. And there's already so much potential there. So I know Sky Blue is not somebody that turns a lot of heads, maybe. Or maybe she is. For BC, I don't think I've ever even spoken about Sky Blue. But, wow. I mean, a beautiful, man, that is just, she got the little backwards baseball hat. Before I moved over to New York City, guys, I tell you my tried and true this all the time. I grew up in a small town in New England, set of projects, so it was a little rough. You think of a New England small town, you're thinking it's all nice and fucking cozy and shit. But I had a little bit of rougher, unfortunately, but I don't need sympathy. It made me fucking a strong BC, a tougher BC. But, growing up in that town, like beautiful to us, it's not a woman in a dress and high heels and their hair all done up. No, sexy, beautiful to us growing up was a girl in a hoodie, maybe a baseball cap with a hoodie fucking on, baggy fucking jeans, maybe, that was beautiful to BC. I just see somebody like Sky Blue like that. It's kind of funny. It's like she's like a hybrid between like AJ Lee, Cora Jade, and like a Nikki Bella with the baseball hat and shit. She's like a little bit of a hybrid. So beautiful girl, and she can go in the ring. I was very impressed with her last night. I believe it was Jamie Hayter that defeated her. And that was just to get her some more reps and get more eyeballs onto who Jamie Hayter is, because she is going for a championship at Full Gear against Toni Storm, the current champion. Or, interim champion, because Thunder Rosa's got that under wraps well into 2023 because Tony Khan fucked up. And let Thunder Rosa go away with a back injury out of nowhere that doesn't have a timetable really, because they don't really know the issue. And Tony Khan's just like, yeah, take it. The interim title thing worked so good with CM Punk. We saw how that turned out. But let's do it with the women now. Yeah, that's great. And now there's internal turmoil with the women because of the interim championship title. Toni Storm's even pissed off because she just wants to be called the women's champion, and I don't blame her. This whole thing has been handled horribly by Tony Khan. But anyway, Hayter defeats Sky Blue, and I'm fine with that because people are still coming around to who the fuck Sky Blue is, including BC. But you can count me in on the Blue Crew. Is that a thing? Well, it just became one. I am on the Sky Blue Crew. Count me in. I am invested in her. I love this girl, and she is... I'll be watching more of her in great detail going forward. So I just wanted to mention that. Now let's go a little bit more to the start of the show. In this Dynamite, I kind of labeled it open mic night because, again, everyone from MJF to Mox to Saraya to Britt Baker to even Jeff Jarrett was just blowing up the mic last night, and I love it, man. Open mic night is the shit. A lot of people just want to see more wrestling action and less speaking, but you know what? That's not what the shows are for. The pay-per-views, the premium live events, whatever you want to call them, that's where you can get all the culminating moments and matches from the storylines and the feuds that hopefully, if done correctly, were being generated for weeks and weeks at a time. In today's wrestling, you don't get that anymore. People complain about promos and they just want to see matches thrown together. And then what happens is the promoter just starts throwing together matches that make no sense because you're just like, well, what the fuck do I do? I got to throw up more matches, right? I got to throw, here's another one, and here's another banger, and a banger, and a banger. And the crowd's like, whoa, and they do all their chants, and then they sit down afterwards, and they go on social and talk about what a banger it was, and then we just rinse and repeat. We just repeat the fucking process. Copy and, right? Cut, copy, paste. Honestly, that's all it is, man. Cut and paste. You can see the same fucking thing. That's every show. No, the promos. If you think about some of the... Especially with Dynamite, when we talk about like really good Dynamite shows and things that captivated us over the last year, 2 years since its inception, it's been the promos, right? MJF several times, but even somebody like Christian. Remember when Christian blew up on that? Was that the Jungle Boy in Luchasaurus? But I remember Christian just cut a promo that we were just like, wow. I think he shredded up maybe Matt Hardy in that too. I forget, but it was. I mean, I was like, that's the Christian we've been waiting for, man. We didn't even know that was the Christian that was around in WWE days. This is like a whole different level of Christian. Now, obviously, in typical Tony Khan fashion, he cooled that off quickly. But we've seen Baker cut good promos like that and just made us go, damn, that was insane. Eddie Kingston and CM Punk. Remember what they did? So, I mean, promos, guys, I can't say this enough. Like, storylines are... I mean, the catalyst are promos. That's how you can get really into an intriguing level, through those personal attacks and that, I mean, you feel like there's a real, there's an animosity, there's a beef, there's a feud that is just boiling to a point where you're going to have to spend your money to see how it culminates. And if done correctly, that's at the pay-per-view, premium live event. But, so the shows are for storylines. The shows are for the promos. If you want to see 6 or 7 bangers every Wednesday night, I mean, it pains me to say this, and I'm not trying to throw shade, but if you want to see 6 to 7 bangers every Wednesday night, or 5 to 6 bangers every Wednesday night, you are helping to hurt professional wrestling in 2022. Because you're not giving storylines any fucking room to not just breathe, but to develop. And that's the reason why professional wrestling is hurting so much in 2022. You need to pause. You need to take time. You need to take a breath. And you need to just sell the feuds. Sell the stories. Promos. Something simple like promos. I don't care if you got 4 or 5 in a night. Let them roll. Let them showcase who they are, their identity. Back in the day, so many people got over because they got to speak, right? When Rocky Maivia turned into The Rock, if you just place The Rock name on it, it's probably not going to go anywhere. They let him speak, and when Dwayne Johnson really spoke like The Rock, damn, were we captivated. When Stone Cold started speaking like Stone Cold and not the Ringmaster or even Stunning Steve, we started to listen. We were like, damn, Can this guy cut another promo, please? Because I got the time, and I got a fresh coffee. You know, Stone Cold started speaking, and you were captivated. MJF. No, at first, and I love his wrestling ability. Like he says, he doesn't need to flip and dive or put his life on the line every match to have a successful career. And MJF is correct. But at first glance, you probably wouldn't give him a second look, right? It would take some time. No, MJF started to make a name for himself quickly because on the stick, this guy was he was turning heads. You could be in a rush, no time, out of coffee, flying down Fifth Avenue. You got a meeting to go to. And this dude's in your ear. You got your earbuds in, you're listening to MJF, and you're stopping at the door. You know you're already late to your meeting, and you still got to get another coffee. But you ain't going into that meeting yet. You got to let MJF finish that promo because it's straight fire. I mean, he's the type of guy that'll stop you in your tracks with his words alone. Bray Wyatt is one of those people where just his promos alone, since he's been back for a whole month, he's just been giving you promos, but we're still talking about how he's the only captivating part in WWE right now. Promos. I can go on and on, guys. Promos matter, and you need to see several every show. If you don't like them, I don't know what to say. I was about to say I hear you, but I don't. It's in the eye of the beholder. We all have different likes and dislikes, but professional wrestling can only succeed if you have promos, lots of them, and they matter. They have substance. Last night, they had substance. A little bit of a cold open there for you. As we talk about some of these promos. But the night started off with an 8-man tag match, a bunch of tag teams in there. Now, I hate schmaz matches, and this match was exactly one of the reasons why I don't like multi-man schmaz matches. Because it's a bunch of individuals, they don't sell properly because you only have a limited amount of time, and everybody has to get their spots in, which also means nobody can sell because you have to get up and set up for somebody else's spot as well. I hope that makes sense. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just tune into last night's 8-man tag. While there was a lot of action, no question, it's not pro wrestling, though. At its core, you need to pause, take breaks, sell the beating that you're taking. Use in-ring psychology, facial expressions. Everything needs to be on point, so we're believing, right? We're suspending the disbelief, I should say. And we're entering the crazy, wacky world of pro wrestling, where we're going to believe what you're selling us if you do it properly, if you do it correctly. When you see 8 men in there and you know they only got 10, 15 minutes maybe-ish, you know it's going to be a wild circus. There's not going to be any rules, right? Nobody's really going to sit outside for most of the match, and they didn't. This was basically all 8 dudes tornado rules. That's why BC doesn't like it. What I did like about this, though, is that it showed you how great their tag division could be. When you watched these 8 dudes and you just thought about it, you have the Acclaimed, which is on fire right now. FTR, which should be on fire right now. They had all the momentum in the world, and Tony Khan, typical Tony Khan fashion, he cooled them off. But FTR is arguably one of the best tag teams in the world right now. Acclaimed, FTR. And then over there, you have what could be a good tag team with proper booking. I'm not saying skill-wise they're going to equal certain teams. But with proper booking, it's a legit team. It's not just thrown together, 2 singles dudes thrown together like Swerve in Our Glory. Not Gun Club. But, Daddy Scissor, whatever the fuck this dude's name is, his kids could be something. The Gun Club could be something with the correct booking. And Keith Lee and Swerve, it sucks that Keith Lee is in a tag team, but let's not act like Keith Lee and Swerve are not really good talents. So, you see 8 dudes in there that either already are on fire or could catch so much lightning in a bottle going forward, so much potential. So that was the one thing I didn't mind, you're showcasing these wrestlers. And then the match starts and you're kind of like, oh, here comes the circus. And it was a circus. And then FTR and the Acclaim, the faces ended up winning this match, which should have happened. But that's not how you start a show, I feel. And this is where I'm going to come in with those 3 components that I feel AEW lacked. All right, this is what a lot of people are saying. It was either a bad show or just not a good show, and saying it didn't land. And this is why BC is saying it was decent, it could have been good had they done these three components. Number one, start the show with something that is going to make people put the remote control down. The remote's in their hand at the top of the hour. They're waiting for you, Tony Khan, or the promoter of whatever wrestling show they're watching, or any show for that matter. They're waiting for you to give them a reason, right from the jump, to put the remote control down. Starting off with just 8 dudes in the ring in a tornado match, even though it's not called a tornado tag, that's what it ends up being. It's a circus. Nobody can keep track of anything, and it's just, they're hoping that the wildness keeps people around. But if you start off with something uber captivating, creative, I don't care if it's I would have much rather Mox's promo, which, by the way, nothing happened after. He cut a really good promo, and that was it. I would rather that start the show, because at least there you're hearing an ultimate promo, and then on top of that, it's getting you, or at least it's conditioning you to remember that this big world title match is happening in a week with him and MJF. It's pumping up your pay-per-view in the process. Instead of just throwing 8 guys out there for what? So we can get another banger. So we can get wrestling action. Wrestling is more than wrestling action. It just is. Moves and sequences that are predetermined, rehearsed, scripted. It's more than that. You have to captivate your audience. Not just the casuals that you want them to put the remote, but even your niche fans. Give them excitement at the top of the show. If you're telling me you were honestly excited for this 8-man tag match, it's just like every other match. It's got moves and sequences that are rehearsed, predetermined, and scripted out. Even if you're calling it on the fly, it's the same fucking moves with these people. You need more than that. Every match is the same for that matter. If you don't have in-ring psychology, if you're not selling properly, if there's not care and investment into why the match is happening and why we should give a shit, there's no reason an 8-man tag could have been the 2nd, 3rd, 6th segment. And start the show with a reason that we all have to put that remote down. If you're telling me that that's the best you can do, you got the remote in your hand and you're like, oh shit, 8-man tag. This is it. I'm watching. I can't wait to see the spot where all 7 guys are hugging each other outside and they're looking up, waiting for the 8th guy to jump off the turnbuckle and do his little splash. I can't wait. They're always going to do it. They're going to do it, man, because they always do. I can't wait to the part where 5 of the 8 guys do the suicide dives. I can't wait for the part where they're all in the ring doing suplexes together. Right? When you can already know their spots, you know there's a problem. There's no reason that couldn't have been deeper in. And guys, this is the fairest it's not a full review, but this is the fairest talk you're going to get on AEW or any pro wrestling show. Because I'm telling you, I thought the show was actually decent. I'm trying to offer the most constructive of criticisms imaginable. Tony Khan just doesn't like when I do that. But if you started the show better, and I'm going to give an example with a little bit of amplified booking in just a couple of minutes, but start the show better, man. That's component number 1, and it has to happen. Component number 2 is how you end the show, right? Cliffhanger. Give us a reason that we have to tune in the next week, not just want to, right? You saw a good main event, whether you like Sammy Guevara or not. Sammy and Bryan Danielson, 2 out of 3 falls. That was a damn good main event. And then it just ended after Danielson defeated Guevara. That was it. Excalibur rushes through everything we should know about Rampage and the next week's Dynamite and Full Gear and an England show coming next year and a town we never knew of here in the U.S. that'll be in February. I don't know. Excalibur's talking about who the fuck knows. The Domino's menu, the McDonald's menu, telling you what he had for dinner last night. Who knows what Excalibur is saying because he speaks so damn fast. And then we just go off the air. No, why not have something ready that is a cliffhanger? It doesn't even have to involve Bryan Danielson after he beats Guevara. You could go to the back and something happened. Something happened. Maybe Wardlow got destroyed even more by Joe. Maybe Wardlow's looking for Joe, chases him out of into the street somehow, and we end the show like that. A cliffhanger. So you start the show by making everybody put the remote down because something epic happened, and then at the end of the show, it's a cliffhanger. That's component number 2. Component number 3, you bulk your show. So you have a storyline that you keep going back to. Now, if you do this correctly, it should be whatever started the show. whatever started the show, and you keep going back to it, either every segment or every other segment. Now, I'm going to tie that in to my amplified booking, component number 3. And I'm going to tie all of this together. Component 1, start the show, making people put the remote down. Component 2, have a bulk of the show, which means you keep going back to one main storyline that keeps everybody's attention and keeps them from picking up the remote. And component 3, ending with a cliffhanger. Now, let's go to an example. BC, what exactly do you mean? Can you give us an example? Because you're saying all the right things, but BC, I don't know if you could actually get more creative than Tony. Well, let's do it. Okay, so let's take what Tony already gave us. Right, class is in session. So Tony gave us Wardlow, right? One of the biggest stories to come out of last night is Wardlow, Samoa Joe, and Powerhouse Hobbs, right? Wardlow calls out Hobbs. Wardlow tells Hobbs he's going to take all the fucking belts when he's done. Samoa Joe doesn't like that. Okay, you're taking it too far now. Calm down the ego, kid. And Samoa Joe turns on Wardlow. Okay, that happened. We can't change that, right? We can play Monday morning quarterback. We can review it. We can critique it. It's like Austin Theory being done so damn dirty and filthy. You ain't going to change the shit. All right? It is what it is. We can only move forward and try to correct these problems. Okay, so Tony Khan gave us what we got last night. Whether you think it was too soon for Joe to do that, whether you think they ever should have been together in the first place, it's done. Now BC has control of the show next week. How do I start Dynamite? I'm going to make you put that fucking remote down. I start the show with somebody literally going through the security booth window in the parking lot. You know the little fucking thing where the security guy lets you in, all the talent, all of the agents, all the suits and ties. We start the show with Wardlow putting a dude right through the motherfucker. And he issues a fucking warning. Nobody is getting through here until I make sure it's not Powerhouse Hobbs or Samoa Joe. Basically, the new security parking lot attendant has just become Wardlow. And he's going to make sure that Samoa Joe and Powerhouse Hobbs do not get by. They're not even going to make it to the ring. They're barely going to make it into the arena because Wardlow is going to stop them in their tracks and beat the fuck out of them right there in the parking lot when they arrive to the show. And isn't it ironic they haven't arrived yet, right? They know what they did to Wardlow. They're in no rush to get to the arena. They're some of the last motherfucking talents. And Wardlow knows. He's been searching the whole fucking arena for hours. And now he's had enough. He's going to wait. So we start with a dude going right through the fucking booth window. Some random guy. Maybe it's the security guy himself. And now Wardlow, right? Wardlow's no stranger to beating the fuck out of security. And now he's issued a warning. Samoa Joe, from what we know, Samoa Joe and Powerhouse Hobbs are on their way to the arena. They're just showing up mad late because they're in no rush because they know Wardlow's pissed. But they're showing up separately. But he's calling them out. Whoever shows up first, they're going to have to deal with him, and they're not going to make it. They're not even going to have a chance to park their car. Wardlow's going to drag them by their neck out of the car. That's basically what Wardlow's saying. And then we cut to the AEW Dynamite opening signature, whatever you want, some pyro, whatever the fuck you want to do. Boom! Remote down. How the fuck are you going to miss that now? This dude, that's must-see TV. This dude's not even letting them get through security to park the car before Wardlow's going to try to flip over the car like he's Braun motherfucking Strowman. Maybe not everybody. Maybe somebody will keep clicking by, but a lot of people are going to go, oh, fuck. Or if they're going to click, they're going to keep pressing their last button, their last channel button. They're going to keep clicking back because they're like, oh, I do kind of have to see how this ends. And then I go into that other component that's lacking in pro wrestling shows, not just Dynamite last night, but bulk of the show. The bulk has to be intriguing. You have to have that one storyline bulk, that one storyline arch that literally arches throughout the night, every segment. You keep going back to it. Well, this ties into the first component I'm talking about, starting the show and making people put the remote down. Okay, now people, every segment or every other segment, go back to the parking lot. Wardlow is still waiting. Wardlow is actually dragging people out of the car because he doesn't know who they are and they don't want to roll their window down at first. Maybe one fucking car gets Wardlow putting his hand through it And he fucking sees, and it's just like a suit and tie. It's a scrawny little fucking Harvey Whippleman type guy. And he's like, Mom, I'm just trying to get in. I have a meeting with Tony. And he fucking says, go. He fucking kicks the car. You could do some awesome shit. Every other segment, you keep going back, but it builds anticipation throughout the night. That's the best part, right? That's what pro wrestling shows used to do in the past. You built anticipation. The wrestling shows were so awesome because they were actual shows. From top to bottom, you felt like you watched a television show that intrigued you, entertained you, and there's a reason that you have to tune in next week. Wrestling shows these days, it's so formulaic. There's just a formula that they refuse to break. And by the time the show is done, everyone just goes on social and goes, well, that was a good show. Oh, that was a shitty show. That show didn't land for me. It was all right for what it was. And then we all start listing why we liked it and why we didn't like it. And it's just like, it's so bland. Even our conversations afterwards are so bland because wrestling is so bland. There's no real show anymore. There's no intrigue. There's no entertainment that's actually captivating us. But something like this, now you go to the end. Okay, now BC, okay, now this has been good, but now you have to have a payoff at the end of the show, BC. Okay, so let's do that. So, let's just say you have a main event like last night, which I thought was a good main event. Sammy Guevara, Bryan Danielson, 2 out of 3 falls. Went off without a hitch. Loved it. Bryan Danielson wins. No problem. Okay. Now what happens? We're at the end of the show. Danielson wins the match. You can have any main event. I'm just going from last night's. So you have the winner. Okay, big moment. We got to see a good match, right? All you guys got to see a banger. Now you cut back to the lot. Hobbs and Joe never showed up. The show is over. They obviously got wind that Wardlow's looking for them, right? And I'm not even saying they're working together, by the way. Seems that way. And by what I'm about to say, it seems that way. But you don't know for sure if they're even working together because like last night, they were screaming at each other. Hobbs was telling Joe, I'll fuck you up too. And Joe's just looking at him like, come on, bro. So it's not even that they're working together, but they know Wardlow's looking for him. There's no reason. I'm not even going to call out. This is a no-call, no-show. If ever you guys work 9 to 5 jobs, they call this a no-call, no-show. This is when you don't want to go to work, but you don't want to call them and tell them. So Hobbs and Joe basically no-call, no-showed, but no. They were going to fuck with Wardlow. And we cut to the fucking back, and sure enough, here comes a car, the last car of the night, and it just happens to be Powerhouse Hobbs. You could even make it Samoa Joe. But for this instance, let's just call it Powerhouse Hobbs. He's got a nice little fucking sedan. Right?'s got his little sedan. And he's revving that shit up if a sedan can rev up. And Wardlow's just waiting. I mean, this is the culminate. We waited 2 hours for this. And there's Powerhouse Hobbs. He actually showed up at the end of the night. And all of a sudden, we see these fucking headlights behind Wardlow. A car pointing right at Wardlow behind him. So Hobbs is in front of him. Wardlow's not letting him even get... Wardlow's ready to take on the whole car. But behind him, there's a fucking black pickup truck. Samoa Joe is behind him. He was there the entire night in that parking lot. Or at least in the arena. His car was there the entire fucking night. He was there the whole time. Probably just watching fucking Wardlow trying to pick his time. So now you have a car that's about to run you over, revving it up in Powerhouse Hobbs. Behind you, Samoa Joe is there. You're looking for me, motherfucker? Funny. Found you. And he's fucking revving his pickup truck up. And all of a sudden, you just see Powerhouse Hobbs. You could have Joe do it. This is where you get creative. You get some minds together and think what would be better, right? Joe's got an ROH title. Do we need Joe a little bit more? Joe doesn't wrestle as much, so maybe Joe would be the better point to put his car in drive, that pickup truck, and start barreling toward Wardlow because Powerhouse does have that match with Wardlow. So maybe Powerhouse would have to sit this one out, just rev it up, but it's Samoa Joe that ends up fucking putting that son of a bitch in drive. And he starts to barrel toward Wardlow. And all of a sudden, boom, out of nowhere, a much bigger truck. You can make this like a semi. T-bones Joe's car, pickup truck. And Joe fucking gets... Now, this is obviously has to be a stunt. Happens all the time. AEW's done them already in their 3-year short status as a pro wrestling company. WWE does these stunts all the time. So you have it done beautifully. It's going to be a pre-tape, obviously. And you have them get fucking T-boned. And you don't know if Joe's even still alive, bro. And Wardlow is even like, what the fuck? Powerhouse Hobbs gets out of his car like shocked as he sees who the fuck was driving that much bigger truck. Maybe it's that semi, right? Just the actual truck part of an 18-wheeler. But somebody T-boned fucking Joe. And when Wardlow and Powerhouse Hobbs saw who it was, complete and utter shock. Who the fuck is it? Well, we never pan over to it. Fade to black. We go off the air. That's a go-home show to Full Gear. You have to get the pay-per-view now. You have to tune into Dynamite next week. You need all the answers. What the fuck happened to Samoa Joe? Who the fuck was driving the truck? Why are they helping Wardlow? Do they just want Wardlow's title? Creativity. You know, some people might say, BC, that's way too many moving parts. Man, they would never do that. How the fuck do you figure? It happened all the time back in the day. It happened all the time back in the day. You saw limousines blowing up back in the day. You saw beer trucks coming to the ring and having beer fucking bashes from the beer of the truck. I used to see monster trucks running over people's personal cars. They'd be running out of the way as the monster truck was crushing them. But you couldn't have this parking lot segment where this awesome stunt takes place and it elevates the whole entire storyline? Of course you can. It takes a little bit of time, money, and resource. It takes care. Proper care. If you don't like that, then you wouldn't like a BC ran promotion. I get it. I'm not your cup of coffee. Put down the remote. I'm not your cup of coffee. That's fine. You're fine with your bangers. And for you, all you need to see is next week for the go-home show, Wardlow is face-to-face with Samoa Joe, and they're beefing, and they're yelling. Joe's pissed at Joe, or Wardlow is pissed at Samoa Joe, and then all of a sudden Powerhouse comes out, and maybe Powerhouse takes out both of them, and there's referees breaking up Powerhouse, and then we end the segment, right? You're okay with just seeing everything in the ring, and we're all just going to yell at each other, then we're going to brawl a little bit, referees will break us up, and rinse and repeat. Cut, copy, paste. Cut and paste. That's pro wrestling today. And BC's wrestling, if I'm a head creator, oh, fuck. You're going to be entertained. Wrestlers are going to feel important. Storylines are going to be important. And you're going to be captivated and intrigued. Guys, I'm giving you one storyline off the top of my dome piece for like a Wardlow, a Samoa Joe, and a Powerhouse Hobbs. There's a million. If you get creative and you have fun getting creative, which is what they used to do back in the day for pro wrestling. Now it just seems like a chore for these companies to get through wrestling shows. It seems like a chore. Oh, we got to write Raw again this week. I thought we just did this last week and the week before and for 30 years. Yes, you should be having fun doing it. I used to love hearing the stories where Vince would bring over Vince Russo and maybe Pat Patterson, a couple, maybe Ed Ferrer, but they would just sit around the pool and they would play pranks with one another. They would throw people in the fucking pool. They would eat fucking lobsters and shit, and they would just have fun while they written. I can fucking speak English. While they wrote out the show, they had a ton of fun, and you saw that in the product. Doesn't seem like anyone's having fun anymore, but I'm giving you, even if you don't like that idea, man, come up with something fun. I bet you if you guys thought of something, just had fun with it, even if it took you 3 hours to come up with something, I bet you could come up with something that's going to be better than what Tony Khan gives us next week. With just that one storyline. I'm just picking one storyline where BC would have so much fun with it and could captivate an audience. 3 components. That's it. And there's so many ways you can go about business. So that's how I would start the show, and that's how I would go about my business, man. Last night they chose to do with an 8-man tag. You know, no real Big Bang Theory to the start of the show, and nothing to keep going back to. You know, it was every segment, just, you know, it's kind of a rushed nature, especially with just a week to go with Full Gear. They felt like they had to pump a lot out to us, you know? But you kept going on to something just different every fucking 5 minutes, it seemed. But some other notables from last night, before I get to the straight promo, again, Sky Blue impressed me in her loss to Hayter, I believe. The main event, so good. But I'm high on Sammy Guevara anyway. This kid takes a lot of heat. Ever since he started making out with Ty, everyone's been turning on him. It's almost like fucking, you got a lot of grown men that are just jealous or pissed off that he got the girl. But the hate that this kid has gotten ever since he's been making out with a hot girl, fans have turned on him bad, man. But no matter how you feel about him, good match last night. Good match with Danielson. Danielson ends up capturing the W. That's the right call. Man, if there was other matches, Jay Lethal picked up a dub. I'll take that shit. Who was that? Trent Beretta, I believe he beat. But it's just so good, not just to see. One of my favorites, man. And you guys know why. I've given you a plethora of reasons. Jay Lethal is so damn good. It's so awesome to see him on primetime Dynamite television and finally picking up W's. Because for a while, on Dynamite anyway, on big matches anyway, he's just been fucking taking L's. And you haven't really got a reason. You didn't have a reason to care about this dude. I think people are starting to see, damn, this guy's good. Maybe I should give him a second look. Yeah, you should give him a second, third, fourth, and fifth. Because Jay Lethal's a real dude. So you had that match again last night. And now I'll just cut right to the chase, right? Let's talk about what I call open mic night. Because Tony Khan let a bunch of individuals just fucking have at it last night on the microphone. And I'll start off with the bare minimum, which was Jeff Jarrett. Guys, I'm the first to say, if you think of what AEW stands for, not the letters, All Elite Wrestling, but just what it was founded upon, right? What people thought AEW was going to be, and the alternative to WWE and all that. And then you see a guy like Jeff Jarrett, not just get employed for a backstage role, but he's going to be like wrestling. He's going to, Full Gear, I think, is his like debut or something, in ring. For AEW, it's something like that. So he's going to be an in-ring I mean, that's not what you would have thought, right? It's like when you hear the Big Show got hired. Paul White got hired by AEW. You're like, what? The residential fucking big goof from WWE? And that's no shade to Big Show. He knows. He said when he first ever heard the name Big Show, he knew his career was in trouble. That's from his own words, Paul White. Right? And for the next fucking 15 years, whatever it was, 20 years, that's what he was. He was a big goof. And it's sad, you know, when he was fucking the Giant in WCW, I saw so much potential. When he debuted at the St. Valentine's Day Massacre, whatever it was, when he came through the ring for Vince McMahon and Stone Cold's match, there was so much promise. And then he turns into the Big Show, he's in diapers, and he's crying on live primetime Raw television. And he never recuperated from that. We always remember that. And then AEW hires him. Now, thankfully, he's not wrestling every week, but it's a questionable hire. Jeff Jarrett is a questionable hire. I'll be the first to say that. But last night, man, he nailed that promo. He had a lot of bullet points he had to go over. He had to talk about why he aligned himself with Sanjay. He had to talk about why he aligned himself with Jay Lethal, saying that Sanjay is one of the most brilliant minds you're going to find in the world, not just wrestling. Jay Lethal is one of his first hirings because he saw all the talent in the world with the Jay Lethal. So that was an easy decision. All right, I had to take a moment to actually search the dude's name. I never took a fucking moment to give a shit. I gotta be honest with you, man. I love Jay Lethal. They linked him up with the dude, and he's just another Khali to me. And until you prove otherwise, which I have not seen, I gotta be honest. I didn't know the dude's name, but Satnam Singh is what I'm reading. Maybe I'm pronouncing. I don't fucking know, but Singh. Got so much praise by Jarrett last night. Jarrett says this about being a legit monster. Jeff Jarrett says, and I quote, "This ain't no make-believe monster who wears red skinny jeans and who is produced by the banana-nosed circus. No, this guy is 1 in a billion. I don't know how he's 1 in a billion. I haven't seen enough of this dude that made me go, damn, he's special. He's 1 in a billion. No, I'm not seeing that. But I haven't seen enough, so I'm willing to give him more of a chance. For those of you that are saying, no, BC, he's much better than Khali, and he's gonna He's going to make you a fan, BC. If you're saying that, then I'm going to give him more of a chance. Because I have not yet, I think for justified reasons, but I will give it more of a chance. I will give it more time for Satnam Singh. How's that? But as far as 1 in a billion, I wouldn't go that far. But Jarrett is talking about how look at his quote. This ain't no make-believe monster who wears red skinny jeans and who is produced by the Banana Nose Circus. He's taken a throw at a jab over to Braun Strowman, who literally on his social and on television calls himself the Monster. And he wears red, tighter pants. I don't think they're skinny jeans, but red pants. And he literally says this is no make-believe monster who wears red skinny jeans. And then he takes a jab over to H, who is produced by the Banana-Nosed Circus. Produced by the Banana Nose, who's got the biggest fucking nose in WWE. That's Paul Levesque. And calling WWE the Circus. He took a double jab, and that shows you, that gives you insight on why Jeff Jarrett took off from WWE. He just said recently in an interview, he said, I believe I was one of the last, if not the last hire by Vince McMahon before he left. And it only lasted a couple months, and Jeff Jarrett was gone. It shows you that he does not respect Triple H, Paul Levesque, and maybe he has his reasons. Maybe they're totally justified. But he did not want to work with Paul Levesque. I think that's obvious. So Jarrett said, check you. And then this jab tells you the Banana-Nosed Circus. That tells you his feelings on Paul Levesque. So Jeff Jarrett, I think, did really well. Again, I'm not saying he needs to be in AEW. If I'm in AEW and I'm creating and I'm told that Jarrett's coming in, I'm asking why, what the fuck? But I got to give him credit. He nailed his promo. There was a lot of bullet points and a lot of people that he had to say really good things about. From Sanjay to Jay Lethal to Satnam. I mean, while taking some jabs over to World Wrestling Entertainment, would you like that? Would you think that's overplayed by now? Stop. Everybody doesn't have to come over to AEW and just start jabbing WWE. I get it. But, Jarrett cut a really good promo, actually. I got to give him credit on this one. And MJF, who was not even in the arena. He's on a podcast. And he took time to cut a promo. And it was MJF being just phenomenal. It doesn't matter the setting. It doesn't matter what type of promo. He could be standing in the ring, doing circles around the ring while speaking. He could be sitting down. And this dude's going to captivate you. He proved that yet again last night. And he says, I'm not just another wrestler. He put himself in the category of the Rocks and the Stone Colds and the Hulk Hogans. And I'm not seeing how he's going to be proven wrong, because already in his young career, he is absolutely lighting the business on fire. One of the very rare opportunities where we can say, that's interesting, that's fun, that's intriguing, that's entertaining, that's exciting. It's usually always dudes like Bray Wyatt or MJF, and just promos, their words alone are the things we're always talking about on a pedestal. Isn't it funny how all the bangers in the world, you can have 1 million bangers a year, and we're talking about the promos and the individuals that did something outside of the sequences and the move for moves that you see in all of these matches. No, we're talking about what they did outside the box that checked off every other category. MJF is just fucking phenomenal. He did it again last night, and he wasn't even in front of the crowd. And then Mox comes out later in the night, just Mox and Regal, and Mox proceeds to cut nearly 5 minutes of just a burn it down promo. Mox is so fucking good. Mox does not get the credit for how good he is. Wrestling-wise, he's top notch. He doesn't have to be one of the fucking best to turn your head. He just has to go in there and back up what he says on the mic, and he does it all the time. And he does it damn good. To say that Mox is a bad wrestler would be a skewed opinion that would be plucked from the island of irrelevancy, because that would never get a second thought that Mox is bad at what he does in the ring. Mox is actually really good. But what he does on the mic, I think when people think the top performers on the microphone, I don't know if Mox gets the credit that he truly has earned. I don't know if people put him in the top 5 or even 10, and that's criminal. That's a shame. Mox is so fucking good at selling you a match, selling you on a feud, selling you on why you should care. And while MJF has been away filming for the Von Erich movie, I believe, all the best and congratulations to MJF, Mox is there like he always is to pick up the slack when CM Punk is getting injured or being a fucking idiot, whatever the case is. Who was there when CM Punk was out? Mox. He even postponed a vacation, which I still don't believe he went on with Renee, because the company needed him. And Mox showed up yet again last night, stepped in the middle of the ring, and all he had to work with was William Regal, which he's aligned with, but he still talked about the animosity and beef that he had with Regal when he first started in his career, and actually fighting William Regal. And then he turned it on. Who does that remind you of? MJF, doesn't it? It reminds you of Maxwell. And then he just starts to cut in on Maxwell, scathing. And you buy into it because it's so believable. It's so realistic. You know that that's who Mox is. Mox says, you call yourself the devil. No, I've been places where I've seen the devil. I've seen bad people do bad things. Max, that's not you. No, you're not the devil. Man, it was just so intriguing to see what MJF did in a podcast studio, and then Mox in the arena, in the ring, just doing that. Man, it brings another layer of interest into their match next week on the 19th of November. Sometimes it's the subtleties. Sometimes it's the simplicities. You just have to give a fuck and make it entertaining. And it wasn't just there, man. The ladies, man. Britt Baker and Saraya, formerly known as Paige. That kicks off with Saraya saying that I am 100% cleared. AEW is my house. And she was basically ready to fucking break down in tears when she said it. So fucking epic, man. So epic, because I was never a big Paige fan, by the way. But it's so epic to see somebody overcome what they thought they would never, ever do again. And you say, well, WWE was protecting her. They didn't want to hurt her anymore. And guys, unfortunately, we've seen too many instances where that's not the case. They put her on the shelf. They always looked at Paige as a liability after a while. And some of that was because of Paige. I will be honest, absolutely, as I always am. To the most amplified of levels, I'm honest. But a lot of that was just WWE. WWE just playing the role of God, whether it's Vince McMahon or Triple H. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. We're seeing H do that all the time as well. And they're just like, nope, you're going to stay right there. I know what you want to do. I know your ambitions. I know doctors have said you can go. You're going to sit right there. We're doing it for you. No, WWE was doing it for them. They no longer saw value in Paige, so they sat her the fuck out. It's so cool for her to see her own trajectory. Now, it was a release. So would she have just stayed collecting WWE money and been okay on the sidelines? I don't know. It was a release. It's not like she just fucking took off on her own. It would have looked better for optics that way. But I think Paige always had that fire still in her. And I do believe that she wanted more matches in World Wrestling Entertainment. The bottom line is she shows up and she doesn't want to just manage. She doesn't want to just be the fucking the fiddle in the background. She wants to compete, and she wants to go for the top, right for fucking Baker. And she says, I'm 100% cleared. AEW is my house. And you see her almost in tears. Even if you're not a Paige fan like BC, you got to go, damn. What a moment, And then she goes right in, and she tells Britt Baker that you have no idea. I've been humiliated. I've battled addictions in the public. I came back from a broken neck. She just went on and on about her hardships, and there's so many of them. Talking about how she wrestled basically her whole life. Only 16 or 17 years, like legally or something, How she would pass out flyers to try to wrestle for a meal and get turned down because she was a woman. She told so much in this heartfelt promo, and you were just hanging on every word. And then you see Britt Baker just burn it down like she always does. Britt Baker, and I quote, This is just beautiful, man. One of my favorite quotes of 2022 in terms of promos was last night from Britt Baker. And I quote, Baker tells Paige Saraya, and I quote, I build AEW from the ground up until it became a fortress that wrestlers, no, check that, superstars like you wanted to move into. She said, I build AEW from the ground up until it became a fortress that wrestlers, no, superstars like you wanted to move into. Goosebumps. Come on, bro. Britt Baker is so fucking good. And then Britt Baker delivers an even better line. You ready for this? And I quote, from Britt Baker, she tells Saraya this, you left your house and walked into mine. We don't take walk-ins. So, bitch, make an appointment. You left your house and walked into mine. We don't take walk-ins. So, bitch, make an appointment. As if she's talking to somebody at the dentist office. We don't take walk-ins. Make an appointment. Come on, man. Just straight fire. Open mic night. If Mox didn't do it for you, maybe MJF did. If they both didn't do it for you, maybe Jarrett and his jabs fucking did something for you. If none of them did it, maybe fucking Saraya did. If they didn't, fucking Britt Baker surely did. But it was open mic night. Take your fucking pick. A lot of good fire promos last night. Yeah. I could go over even more quotes, but, I'll let you guys play that back, run it back if you ever want to, or if you never saw it, it's definitely worth a listen. If you got even 5, 6, 7 minutes, you want to listen to the bulk of it, BC will recommend. I usually don't do that. I will recommend going and checking that out. Maybe it's up on their channel or whatnot. So, that was just straight fire. So I guess this vid went way longer than it was supposed to, probably more than a fucking hour-ish, give or take a few minutes, but that's my thoughts on AEW. The length of this fucking video, this podcast, you probably thought I did a whole review, but I did not. I just had a lot of amplified booking. I spoke about a lot of the components that is missing from making AEW good shows consistently and not just decent. And in fact, a lot of people didn't even feel this landed last night. And I'm telling you guys, man, this isn't just a podcast. This isn't just BC saying, I know better. I can do better. I'm telling you. I don't even need to do it. I'm telling Tony Khan and so many others. I'm giving advice that will help the show. I've done my studies. I have the statistics. I've done my research, I'm not just some schlub who fucking got a channel and the red light goes on and I just tell you my opinions. I'm trying to help make everything better. If just Tony or somebody would just go, damn, that's actually true. We're not doing that and we should be. Or that actually would work. Just do that. Just start having fun again, caring. Make a television show from your pro wrestling. You're going to be much better off in the long run. So there was a lot of segments I probably didn't get to. Little things like Jungle Boy backstage with Renee Young for a quick 60-second fucking interview, and then we cut quickly right to another fucking segment. There's so many backstage segments that get zero time, or it's so fast that you're never going to remember it. If you're going to give Jungle Boy an interview, man, do something special that we're going to know about. Remember. Or think, oh yeah, that feud's happening, and I remember what Jungle Boy just said. No. In 60 fucking seconds, and then we go right to another segment, nobody's going to remember that shit. But there were some segments that I obviously just did not touch up on, or I just didn't see because I was conducting other business last night. So this was never intended to be a full review. Just my thoughts on some of the bulk part of the show last night, some of the segments, some of the matches, and some of the things that I wish I saw, and some of the things that I was so high on. And now we go into the Go Home show next week, and then Full Gear next weekend. BC Amplified. That's what I got for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed, even if you don't watch AEW, but you just want to listen to BC spit some facts on pro wrestling. I appreciate you guys, man. Salute to all you guys, man. I'll put my Dunkin' up in there for you guys and give a salute. But for now, until next time, BC does have to say, check you. Top guy, and I am out. Think, be, live, amplified, always. Check you guys.